I'm going to walk you through this process of URL to proposal. I'm going to show you a real deal that I had from start to finish. All of the data and information you're about to see has been anonymized. Company is like Acme. All the people's names are different. I even had to recreate the original Claude chat thread, which you'll see here. This is a reenactment of exactly what happened. So know that everything we're about to look at is real. I'm going to walk you through it so you can kind of see the A to Z of what went down. And we're going to come back and look at a couple of slides for some more mindset shifting and calibration. And then we're going to look at actually building what it is I'm about to show you. So, all right. So I get most of my business comes from very fortunate, very fortunate to now be in a business that is in high demand and everybody wants it. A lot of referrals, a lot of introductions, a lot of people see me speak and then email me afterwards. And about a month ago, I got an email. I got a colleague said, "Hey, I want you to meet one of my clients." They asked when I was free. They put on my calendar a 2:00 meeting on a Tuesday, and no introduction, no context to the person or the company. He just threw a meeting on my calendar with his client for me to meet because his client was interested in taking AI seriously. So because I have this prospective person's email address now on my calendar, I went and looked at their website and took a couple seconds, just kind of got a snapshot of what they did. And then I took the URL and I dropped it into my project, which you're going to see this more in depth in a little bit. I dropped the URL into my project, and out of that project comes this document. I make this document before I talk to anybody. I have constructed what this document says and the information that it provides to me. What you can see here is the name of this fictional company, but based off of a real company. And here we are. Too long, don't read. What they are, how they operate, their size, their differentiator, something unusual or strategically interesting about this company, what they do in layman's terms. Their website map. How does their website look without me having to actually go and look at it? Just for me to understand their information architecture of the website. Okay, now we look at the service lines, and I have it break out, if there's more than one service line, what it is, the problem it solves, the customer impact it has, and the typical process flow for how that service gets acquired and then delivered. And so we've got service line A, service line B, service line C. Sometimes I see this has like 12 service lines. Sometimes it has one service line. All right, then we go into a people and org chart. We've got everybody that is available, publicly available information, and assumptions and things that the tools can figure out, like their title, their tenure, any notes about them, their inferred org chart. So who reports to who and how is this structure showing up? And then their size and revenue. And this is probably the part that has most impressed me and blown my mind over the 30 to 40 times I've ran this report. The agent here takes all the preceding information it has about the company and then goes and researches and digs up, okay, on this type of business, how do these businesses make money and what are typical ranges and calculations and methods to estimate size and revenue? I've done this for, just as a side example, most of the time, this is done. My report is done on companies between 10 and 200 people. And within that range, you'll see the calculations totally change because there's a difference between a 10-person law firm and a 100-person law firm and 1,000-person law firm. And then a month ago, I pressure tested this on a 50,000-person company. And guess what? The equation totally changed because at scale, things change. And so I'm just bragging on how awesome this size revenue estimator moves and changes based off of the company, based off of the industry, based off of everything it already knows. All right, then we move into this growth scenario question. If this company were to grow by 50% revenue, what would happen? what would happen to this company? What would be the implied change? What would be the new roles that would exist within the company? What's likely to break? What are the negatives that are going to happen? Not negatives that you just wouldn't grow, but like what obviously stuff happens when you change, regardless of direction. So what breaks? And then what's the strategic shifts that you have to consider when changing this amount of size? And then run that same exact questionnaire for if they just doubled in size. And then we move into open questions for kickoff. These are questions I just read to get in the mindset of what am I about to talk about. So this report, this whole report was done in, these take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to complete each time. So I read this report, I think at like 12. I get on this call at 2 and I have the call recording file right here. Again, fictionalized names, da 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 da. Oh, you can even see me talking about my dog right here. So full transcript of that very first call. And let's go back over to our mock chat thread with Claude. So I tell Claude, hey, I just had this conversation. Here is the call recording transcript, and here is the report that I had ran. By the way, so I get on the call, and this happens all the time. I get on the call, and I already know about the company. I already know more than what they probably ever would have told me. Like, there's no way I'm going to get on a first call with somebody and they're going to rattle all of that stuff off. Now, has that report ever been 100% accurate? No, but it's never been less than 70% accurate. And I'm sitting on this call asking the CEO of this company to tell me what you do. What is your company? What problem does your company solve? And what's your problem? Why are we having this conversation? And as they're telling me, I'm not rapidly on the fly trying to consume and like right size my head so that I know what he's saying. I already have a really good foundation of what he's saying. And so it's letting me listen and it's letting me actually participate and look in the camera and talk to him and ask really good questions. Do I ever actually ask the questions that are on that sheet? Like maybe one of them, but there's starter question banks. Like it gets me moving in that direction. So, so I get on the call. We have a great call. The guy wants to have another call. So I bring it in here. This one, I actually dropped in 2 different company projects, which was an accident, but it knew what was going on. And I said, okay, cool. So, I want you to help make me help me understand this business, what something we could do for them for $5K a month. I was referencing another project that was 15 to 20K a month, but these guys were a lot smaller. So how can we take that project and trim it down? Can you build me I asked for it to build me we went back and forth on what would the deliverable look like? What would the project look like? What would be the hours for each of these areas? And cool, this is all just in this chat thread that I'm just able to go back and forth with and get a sense of, yeah, cool, this is starting to come into like exactly what I thought it would be. And I said, could you make me 2 files? I wanted to give my one of my team members, I wanted to catch my team member up to speed because he was about to be on the second call. And so I had Claude build a internal scoping document. And this was for me to send to Danny an hour before our second call so that Danny, my coworker, team member, could catch up to speed on what we were about, what kind of conversation he was about to join. The company, the CEO, what we think he's asking for, his perceived problem, our solution, what it provides him, scope and deliverables out of the month, what is deliberately not in here, the longer play, and things for us to decide before the call. So Danny was able to hop on this call without me and him having a single word of conversation. Simultaneously, I asked Claude to build me a draft proposal. And you see here that this file that it produced is an MD file. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. Just bookmark that. What all these files I've been pulling up are MD files. They're just text files. So I had Claude build an MD file, which is just a text document of a proposal. And it built all of this off of the conversation thread we had. It also built it off of the fact that this project that I've been working in Claude has a full list of our services and like how our services work and what they do and what goes on. Context. You've heard me talk about that a lot before, and we'll bring that up again soon. So this is the draft proposal. So I'm looking at it in this MD file, and I'm like, yep, this actually is pretty darn good. If I had some major objections to what was in here, I would have just told Claude, hey, let's make a version 2 of your MD file of the draft proposal, and here's what I want changed and why, and here's what I expect to see. Luckily, it knocked it out of the park. Were there things that needed to be fine-tuned here? Of course. Was it worth me telling Claude, like, delete that one word? No. It's worth me taking this text document and saying, I can handle it from here. And so at that point, I'm like, yeah, cool. Can you take that MD file and turn it into a Word doc using the attached style guide? I have a style guide. You can make them very easy. You're even going to see in another example shortly. A style guide is simply, here are the colors of my company. Here are the typeface we like to use. Here's the font, the size. Like, it's just a general guide to make things look a certain way. So I said, take that draft proposal, turn it into a Word doc, and use my style guide. And it produced then this 3-page Word doc. I'd get on the call on Friday with this company, and we literally just go section by section. What we heard, what we recommend, it's literally like verbatim what happened on the call, just got transposed and reformatted and refined and communicated in a way that it should on here. And we're going section by section, and he's like, and I'm purposely keeping the screen like sectioned on this call. And he's like, well, how long is this going to take? And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And then he's like, well, how much is this going to cost? And I'm like, well, here we go. And we were it was like this crazy dance of, I had every answer to every question that he had. Now, is that how every situation works? Absolutely not. This was the right buyer at the right time. Like, he was excited about what we offer. We're excited to offer him what we do. Not everybody's that like super pumped and into this. Some people are a little more apprehensive and take this a little slower, but we were met this day. Even when they are slower, even when they are more apprehensive, this whole process still works. We are moving faster than our buyers can move most of the time, which means we are able to have conversations at any point in time, at any stage of their buying journey, whenever they want to have it. We are always ready 100% of the time. And if we're always ready 100% of the time, we're never the reason the conversation doesn't happen. If we weren't ready and they were ready, because we had to spend all this time like trying to piece this together with our own brains and our own minds without AI, we might not be ready that day to have the conversation when the buyer is. This was a Tuesday conversation where that started, and then it turned into a Friday conversation. And at the end of this call, this gentleman said, can I get some references? And 2 days later, a reference, who's somebody who's on this call right now, reached back out to this guy, and this was a closed deal. Amazing. This is actually like the fastest deal I've ever had in my life. Was it because of AI? Maybe a little. Is it about AI? Yeah, but that doesn't change anything. Okay, so let me go and look here.